All right, we are back on the Maintenance Sucks podcast. As you guys heard in the first segment, we were talking about maintenance, talking about how hard it was, and Courtney gave some gems for any BDMs out there. But now, I want to talk about Courtney Hill.
Oh, your favorite topic.
My favorite topic in the whole world. But before I do that, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh, okay.
So this is a plug for you, but it's also a plug for me.
Yeah.
So if anybody who knows, and we're actually going to announce this on the podcast, Hermione Gardner is my partner. Mm-hmm. But the only reason why I'm with her...
You stole it from me.
I did. I took her from you. But the only reason why I'm with her is because I want to be on those Real Estate Chicks podcasts.
You want to be on it?
I want to be on it.
Are you a chick?
Well, no, but I'm with one of the chicks.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I just took you on my podcast. So
that's the real motivation.
Yeah, of course. I want to be on the podcast.
Yeah, okay. All right. I mean, I'm fine with it.
Are you?
Yeah. I think you and Hermione might want to maybe word me up on what I can and can't ask.
You can say everything. We're not shy.
Great. Awesome.
You can say it all.
Done.
Just do it all.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Do you want to give a quick plug for your podcast?
Yeah, the podcast's awesome. Hermione and I, we just want people to think we're cool. So we decided to do a podcast because we just don't think we're that cool. So we thought, let's do a cool podcast. And now, yeah, you just have to listen to us talk and people like it. So, yeah, come and listen.
And supposedly there's an ongoing joke on the podcast that nobody thinks is funny and you guys think is funny that, do you live on a vineyard?
So have you heard I live on a vineyard?
I've heard. Do you want to tell before we get into your story, do you want to tell all the listeners about that you live on a vineyard?
Yeah, so I do live on a vineyard. It's not a joke. I actually do live on a vineyard. And it is a working vineyard. And yes, we make Pinot and Chardonnay. I don't actually drink red wine, but I'm told it's very good. We were voted the second best Pinot in Australia a couple of years ago. But don't ever buy a vineyard because you make no money from it. You drink way too much, and it's a lot of fucking work. So, yeah.
For any lesson for people to learn, don't buy a vineyard. All right.
Stay in real estate and buy software.
Yeah. Good transition, though. I want to talk about you, and I'm going to give you some big ups before we get started. For me, you are one of the most impressive people in this industry, and I think a lot of that goes back to your story, which I think is going to be very valuable to our listeners, especially ones that are new in the property management industry. So really, this is you. I want you to open up, tell your story, really how you got started in real estate to kick it off.
All right. Yeah. Whenever I speak at a conference, one of the things that I do is I get everybody to stand up in the room and I ask the audience, how many of you, think back to when you were in high school and you imagine what your life was going to be like, and I get you everybody close their eyes and imagine what you wanted to be when you grew up. Now, if that was a property manager, stay standing. Now, there's always one, but it's only ever one, yeah? The whole room always sits down. And I think that's really reflective of our industry is that many of us are here not because that's what we dreamed of being when we grew up. Mm-hmm. But I always say this industry finds the people that it needs and it draws you in. And for me, certainly, so when I was... going back to that analogy, when I was in high school, I wanted to be a professional musician. I actually have been a professional musician alongside my real estate career, but I was studying at the Conservatorium of Music at Melbourne University, and I actually had a car accident. If you do listen to our podcast, I tell the story, but I actually had a car accident driving a VH Commodore station wagon with no power steering as a 4'11" female.
Just a bit aggressive.
Yeah, just a little bit like...
Maybe asking for an accident too heavy.
And literally just parallel parking, hit the car, went, oh my God, I'm never coming back here because it's pretty tough studying music. That's a whole other story. I called my best friend whose family owned a real estate agency, just a really small real estate agency in Springvale, Victoria, which anybody knows where that is will understand how challenging that would have been. I called my best friend, who is still my best friend to this day, and said, can I just come and sit at your reception desk until I work out what I want to do with my life? And that was 25 years ago. So I'm still in the industry, and I think many people listening will have a similar story, maybe not a car accident that got them here, but certainly a similar story where they found themselves working in a real estate agency. The property industry is the best thing that ever happened to me. It's been extremely challenging. I've tried to leave a couple of times, as many of the people listening are probably in the same boat. But the opportunity, and I guess if I go back to the very start, I started on reception. I then moved into a trust accounting reception role. I then moved into a leasing role, which then moved into a property management. It's the absolute epitome of what the journey of a property manager would look like, into a department manager, rent roll growth, and then eventually into the prop tech space. And I think that's the great thing about this industry is there's always another step that you can go to. There's always aspirational processes. And every single thing that you learn along the way helps inform that next part of the process. Like, there's just no way that I could do what I'm doing today in a leadership perspective or in an understanding of the industry perspective if I hadn't have gone through all of those steps along the way. And I often use the example of, and I've never actually seen this movie, but I've seen a clip. It's The Karate Kid. So
you're one of those people that use examples of movies that you've never seen.
Yeah,
I can't stand that.
Well,
you need to go watch that movie tomorrow.
Yeah, apparently it's amazing. But anyway, I heard this through a motivational speaker, which is how, and this was 20 years ago I heard it, when I was in the depths of really struggling with what we were talking about earlier, understanding how to present maintenance issues to a client and do it in a way where I'd get them to say yes to the repairs. And I was really struggling with the skill set and the ability to handle conflict, and because I'm not naturally someone that gravitates to conflict. I'm a problem solver, and I want to bring people on a journey, but And
you do always tell people that you are a yes type of person. And that's something that you battle with on the day-to-day, how to balance that. How can we
get the outcome that you want and that I want? And that was a real struggle that I had in managing properties. And there's this story in The Karate Kid where whoever the Karate Kid guy is, the wax on, wax off story. And so what he did was the sensei, or whatever they're called, said to the
I love the use of air quotes right now, the movie you haven't seen. Yeah, air quotes, but I haven't seen the movie.
So, goes over to the car and he's wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. And the Karate Kid's like, why do I keep having to do this? Like, why am I wax on, wax off, like boring? I don't want to do this. It's really killing me. What am I learning here? Why am I here? And then he gets into a fight. And that exact motion that he was doing was what he needed to win that fight. And I think that's very reflective of as we grow and change in our careers. If I think back to that time when I had the parquetry flooring issue, or I had, many, many other times, and so many stories I could tell you where I've made mistakes, or customers haven't done what I've asked them to do, or people I've worked for haven't. You think, why am I here? Why am I doing this? But it all informs the armour that you need further down the track, whether it's in a leadership position or whether it's in coming alongside somebody else as they face that same issue. Every single thing that you learn in the trenches, or when you're in the roles that you may not want to be in, is all to prepare you for what's next and what's in 10, 15 years' time. Nothing is wasted. And that's something where I look back on my property management career and as in when I was on the tools, and I think absolutely everything that I'm able to do now is because I sat at that reception desk.
Yep.
Or I managed that trust account and couldn't balance it, or whatever it might be. Every single mistake I made, but every single victory I had has shaped what I can do now and how I can bring other people in that journey as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point because, and I've worked in a couple different industries now. Like, I've worked in payroll, HR services, I've worked in medical diagnostics, but the big thing for me with property managers is, and we all know in this industry, this is probably the biggest turnover industry in the world.
Yeah.
And you were talking about is preparing you for the journey, right? And I applaud all the PMs that are listening and everybody that we work with and everybody in the world, whether you're New Zealand, Australia, whatever country are you in, because you guys are dealing with the shit You're on the reception phone. We know how tough things like maintenance, following with tenants, all of these different things. But if you get through that, you can conquer anything.
Absolutely.
Like it's a resilience thing, right?
Yeah, it's hugely resilient. And I say that to my children, be resilient, be resilient. Mm-hmm. Something's coming up against you, be resilient. And I think if you don't learn the lessons that you need to learn in this job, it's that same shit's just going to follow you wherever you go. Mm-hmm. So it's never about the job. It's about what you need to learn in that moment. And when you feel like there's nothing left to learn, then that's when you move on to the next thing. And I think the resilience is a huge part of what we do. And I think it's not just resilience, but having resilience gracefully instead of prickly resilience. So that's that's a genuine thing I see in the industry right now, that people are drawn to graceful resilience. Yep. They're not drawn to that prickly style. And I think that as you journey through your career and as you journey through dealing with customers and dealing with renters and landlords and challenges with legislation and all of that, the saying, you catch more flies with honey, right? Yep. But you can look at every single situation you go through and what can I learn, but how can others learn from that as well? Mm-hmm. And the wider you open your eyes to that, the better everybody's experience is. And then we have the great opportunity of then changing the industry and changing the way that the public views us, but also internally. I'd love to see more people put their hand up in those when I ask that question, say, yeah, you know what? I chose to be in this industry because it's the greatest industry, because it genuinely is.
I think it's a really good segue into, and this is a question that I have, and for us as our business, so for people who may listen who don't know us, Tal and I were not from the industry, but we have our why of why we've stuck around. And you've talked about the resilience, how people go through these lessons that prepares them for anything. But why does someone stick? Like, why, from your perspective as a property manager, stay in this industry? Like, what gets them excited to wake up each day and to go on that journey?
Well, I can only probably talk from my own experience, and I just experienced this in the last couple of days, actually, because, again, it's about the people that you do it with, because a job is a job, and yes, we want to have the tasks, we want to have the right tasks, we want to enjoy the tasks that we're doing, but it's all about the people that you journey on it with. And you and I, so you and I meaning Taylor and I, we sometimes talk about work, sure, but it's about each other, right? And when we talk... It's
probably like 30-40% of the time.
Yeah, maybe.
Depends on how many glasses of sake we've had.
On a Monday night. But also, when we catch up and we talk about different customers, we don't talk about the businesses that they run. We talk about the personalities and the people we meet, and I really like this person and this person is great, give them a call. And it's always about the people that we do it with. And I think, I'm going to philosophize a little bit here now, but
It's a big word. It's a big word.
I know, wow. Especially
Jesus, you are smart.
How many gins in am I?
I think you're about, 5 in? I was pouring doubles. You didn't know.
Amazing. I think of the property management industry as being in 3 phases. So the first phase, which I was lucky enough to be a part of, is the, property management's a job. And it's a job that I don't just handball to my wife as the sales agent. My wife just does the books and she balances the trust account. That was sort of the first phase. Mm-hmm. The second phase, which I think we're still in, is the tech revolution. So the market makers like Inspect Real Estate, Tapi. Do you
want to say that other name twice?
Tapi.
Yeah, sorry, just keep
it's your podcast. I'm hoping they know who Tapi is. But, your market makers. And I think we're coming to sort of 3/4 of the way through that. We've still got a little bit to go in that sort of phase. Then we move into the very exciting phase that I see, which is where it really becomes people, not property. Yep. And it's about the people management. And what will happen is Courtney Hill doesn't manage 123 Smith Street. Courtney Hill manages Taylor. Mm-hmm. And so it becomes, again, so it's funny, I was in a meeting recently where I was explaining sort of how I see the property management landscape. And I said, so who in here likes people? And 2 people put their hand up in a room of 15. And I'm like, guys, You've got to start to like people. You've got to start to like your customers. And it's a skill. It's something that you have to learn. But I think that is the crux of what we do, is the people that we serve and the people we do it with.
I think we have a lot of listeners on here. So one of the reasons why I want to tell your story, because from my perspective, and this is not me just fangirling you, you really are an inspiration to a lot of people, because you started on the reception phone, and now you are the head of sales at a massive global business in prop tech. So if you're talking to, whether it's the property manager who's just started in the industry and wants to make a big name for themselves, or it might be somebody who's listening who's in prop tech, because there could be some listeners for there. Like, what's your biggest word of advice for those people?
Constantly be working on one thing and nail it. So I always, and this is how I run my teams as well, like individually, I'm like, what's the one thing that we need to focus on? Get 1% better on that every single day. Nail it, make mistakes, nail it, do that, and then move on to the next thing. And I actually said this to someone the other day, with what you've got right now. So if it's a reception answering the phone, you absolutely nail that job. You absolutely kill the job that you have today, because that's the only way that you can get to that next step. So if you're a salesperson in property technology and you want to become a sales manager, absolutely nail your relationship with your leadership. Nail the relationship with your co-workers, with your customers, run the deals in the right way, absolutely nail it. Don't think, how do I get to the next step? Think, how can I absolutely nail what I've got in front of me right now? That has got to be the most critical thing, because if you become the CEO of a business, in my instance, like I'm 2 levels from the top, right? Yep. There's no way I could go to CEO. And I'm 2 levels from the top, and there's 15 levels, right? There's just no way I could do it, because I've still got so much to nail in what I'm doing at the moment. Now, I don't really aspire to be a CEO. It's not a level of stress that I'm really keen on taking. But
so you seem pretty busy.
Yeah, it's busy. I'm perfectly fine with the busyness of my life now, but it's really important. And that comes back to that property management. Really just nail what you've got, the wax on, wax off. Nail what you're doing right now, and the rest will take care of itself. It really will. That's
freaking gold. I think that's a good way to end this segment. Thanks for listening, guys. That is the story of Courtney Hill. When we come back, we'll be talking about events. All right, everybody, we are back. Today has been really interesting. You're quite the guest.
Oh, thanks.
How do you feel about this so far?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I love you guys, so.
Is it you're doing air quotes with the Karate Kid before? Are there air quotes when you say I love you? Or do you?
No, that was a genuine love. Yeah. Hermione will kill me if I don't say that.
That should be about, but I met you before.
That's true, Hermione. Actually. Yeah.
So I think that's really, so what we want to talk about in this segment, and we had Anthony Booth on the podcast, and if anybody knows Boothy, which was a great first episode, we were talking about his stories at events. And if anybody's been around me, you might have seen me in a ball pit in a club in Gold Coast with some of my customers, and maybe you'll see the videos, maybe you won't, but that's how I met you as well.
Yeah, in a ball pit.
Not in a ball pit, but just at a bar,
Always at a bar.
Do you want to tell the story of how we met, or do you want me to tell?
You can tell. You can start the story, then I'll continue the story.
And then what were you saying before? Did I bat it to you? Was that bat?
Yeah.
Australians are so. I understand that most of these listeners are from Australia and New Zealand, but lingo like that, like nobody in America says "I'll bat it over to you." That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's probably a cricket thing.
What is cricket? Just kidding. I know what cricket is.
Yeah. Cricket.
So how did I meet the Courtney Hill? This is actually a funny story to start with. So we were at Brett Wheatland. Shout out Brett, who is...
Yeah, we love Brett.
The leading consultant in South Australia, who is awesome guy. I love working with him. I actually had been out of Australia, New Zealand for a few years with the business. I was actually in the US, had come back into the business. So I don't have the lay of the land yet. I don't know who's who in the zoo, as we say. And I'll be honest, don't take offenses, I had no idea who the hell you were.
Yep.
Didn't have a clue. Who's Courtney Hill?
I mean, same, right? Who's this weird American guy.
I thought you were going to say good looking, but no, weird's the word that you go for? Fair enough, okay.
Yeah.
So I asked
like
Brett.
that.
Brett's like, who's going to be? Oh, Boothy's going to be there. Like, Courtney's going to be there. Like, who's Courtney? And he goes, you know who Courtney is? How the hell do you know who Courtney is? She's like a gun. Like, she's one of the best. I go, well, I need to meet Courtney. So I'm like, okay, I've got to find Courtney. I got to meet Courtney. And I go up to Brett's event, and Brett's, as all events would, it's an all-you-can-drink package, but it's beer and it's wine. And me being the guy that I am, I'm like, fuck, it's the start of the day. I need something a bit stronger. So I go down and decide, hey, I want to get a cocktail. And then there's this very lovely, short, blonde woman wearing green shoes ordering at the bar as well. And I'm like, oh, hey, how's it going? Like, or what are you doing here? And she's like, oh, I'm at Brett's event. I go, so am I. Like, what are you doing down here? I go, oh, okay, I just need something stronger. I'm getting a Tommy's Margarita. I go, oh, yeah, can I get a Negroni and a Tommy's Margarita? So our journey together started with us paying for booze.
Yeah.
When it was a
free booze event.
Free booze. So that talks about how we are. But as the night continued, there was quite the story that I think it's your turn.
Yeah, you want me to tell you? It's probably appropriate that I tell this story.
Yeah, so it doesn't come from me to make it sound like I'm trying to, talk about myself. But
well, so we were downstairs. The event had finished by this point. So I don't know. Are we off the clock when the event finishes? Or are we always on the clock? Are we ever off the clock? I don't know. So anyway, we're downstairs sort of meeting the royalty of Adelaide real estate because for anyone listening, I highly recommend you spend some time in the Adelaide real estate market. It's a unique experience.
It's a hoot. It's very fun.
There's probably an event that I can talk about that I'm still recovering from in the Adelaide real estate market. But anyway, yes, so we were downstairs. We'd met by this point and, there was this really, I'm going to say creepy guy there because he was very creepy and wanting to take me along to the strippers. Mm-hmm. For anyone that doesn't know me, it's not really my cup of tea.
No. You?
Yeah, I know. No. Yep.
Do you want to tell the story about you being from a religious family before that?
Well, actually, no, my family's not religious. I chose that all on my own.
Did you? So this is funny because usually, like when I ask these questions, I know what you're going to say. But in this instance, I thought the family was religious.
No, I was like rebelling from the alcoholic family into the religious world. No, what drew me into the religious world was the music. So that's where I was a professional musician. I didn't drink for 15 years. So Taylor only found this out today. I didn't drink for 15 years, but I'm certainly making up for it now. So anyway, that's a bit of context about me never having been to a strippers, or maybe once or twice. Anyway, this really creepy guy comes up and he's like, let's go to the strippers. And I think that perked your ears, not because Taylor also wanted to go to the strippers, but I think he thought, I better just come in and check out that this girl's all right. So you were a knight in shining armour for me that night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Some people listening, I mean, Hermione would, I don't know if she would laugh or she would be like, oh, he's great. I don't know what she would do, to be honest. What do you think she would do?
I don't know if does she know that story?
No, she doesn't.
No, okay, well, she'd know it now. I don't know, she would probably be disappointed. She'd probably want to go to the strippers.
For the listeners out there, I'm not sure if I'm going to get in trouble that we just said that my partner went to the strippers. We'll just blame it on Courtney.
Yeah.
And that was where this started.
Yeah.
All this.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting when people listening because so much of this industry it's events, it's partying, it's networking. It's almost kind of like a high school community, but on the flip side, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is.
Like I can say firsthand, I sold medical diagnostics and nothing against lab techs. I love there are lab techs listening. I love you guys, but there's a big difference.
How many lab techs will be listening?
Maybe like 2 or 3.
Oh, wow. New genre.
But as you can imagine, it's a big difference between going to a party with a bunch of lab techs in a medical industry than with a bunch of real estate people.
Yeah.
So we do enjoy our events, and we go to a lot of them. I think me last year, I probably went to about 60 events. How many did you go to last year?
Events or flights?
Events.
I wouldn't have gone to 60. I probably went to 30, between 30 and 40.
And how many flights did you take last year?
I think my final count for flights last year was like 98, 99.
Soccer.
Yeah.
114.
So 114,
Better pick it up this year.
Mm. Well, yeah, I mean, there's a couple of hotels where I'm known by name. And
is that because you're at the bar, or is that because...
a bit of all of it.
Bit of both.
The bar, yeah. I mean, but it's really... I think it sounds glamorous, and I think, you know, oh, you travel for work and you do this and you do that, but I might be at the bar, but I'm typically knee deep in a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So it's not that glamorous. And even if we're at a bar, we're typically knee deep in our own spreadsheets, drinking at the bar, going, oh, I'm here with a friend. We're not talking.
But we're not talking. We look like we hate each other, but the reality is because we're sat at our computers knee deep in our spreadsheets.
Yeah. So, you know, and there's a lot of downtime in travel and so forth. But yeah, the events are they're a lot of fun, and you meet some great people. And like I was saying, I'm still recovering from one event last year where Brett Wheatland actually, I'm calling Brett Wheatland out. He made me drink whiskey, and I'm still recovering. Not good.
Not good, huh? So stay away from the whiskey.
Stay away from the whiskey.
The no whiskey for Courtney.
No whiskey for Courtney. No.
So Brett's event. 2 questions for you. 1, what's the best event in terms of property management you've ever been to, and why? And then I want your craziest, funniest, wildest story. But let's start with the best event you've ever been to and why.
I would still say, and it's not around really anymore, I would still say ARPM. So it's basically ARPM was ARIC, but for property managers. So there was no sales guys around. It was just property managers. Hermione actually used to help run that.
Who ran that? Like, who's the key?
That was still the ARIC Tret, but it ran separately to ARIC. So at the moment now, ARIC caters for both.
Yep.
But that Fiona Blaney used to run that, and I still to this day, I went to about 5 of those as a property manager, and then on the prop tech side, I would say that still to this day is the best property management event that I've been to. Like, all of them were brilliant, fantastic. They were held in Sydney. My hope is that comes back. I think that there's it's wonderful to be in a room of that size, 2,000 property managers where you're all there, you're like-minded people. We used to do it when I was on the tools. We used to get our whole team, make a weekend of it. And, I still to this day think that they were the best events that this industry has put on. Yeah.
Why do you think that stopped?
I think it just became more logical to couple it up with ARIC. So it all became the one big thing. Initially, they did it as a secondary day, and then it sort of became the whole event. But that real focus, particularly on property management, separate to the sales conference, was so good. So I think it's probably ARIC's bigger than Ben-Hur now, and certainly it makes sense the way that they're doing it. But yeah, I would say that would have been the best. The story-wise, Boosie would have told you a few cracking stories. Probably the thing for me is, and this is for any aspiring prop tech or anybody aspiring to be part of a prop tech company, no matter how big the night before is, you must be at the booth at 7 a.m. the next morning, right?
That's on the job interview.
It's on the job interview.
Like that is a question that must be asked.
It is absolutely. And so I used to work at Rock End, which is now, I used to sell Rest. And there was a guy that worked there that in my interview with the CEO at the time, he said to me, nobody has ever drunk this person longer than this person. He always wins, right? And I'd just come out of my...
Was that in your interview or after
you got hired? It was in my interview, right? And
is that culturally appropriate?
Probably not.
As an HR?
I think I was very, very quickly learning what my personality is, that I'm a bit of a go-getter. And so John has said to me, okay, Courtney, no one's ever drunk longer than this person. I'm not going to say this person's name because they're still pretty well known in the industry. And I said, oh, okay, cool. Challenge accepted. And so one night at ARIC, I went, it was LPMA actually. And I said, I am going to make sure that he wants to leave before I did. And we made it to 6 a.m. and he was like, Courtney, I'm done. And I was like,
Yes!
I did it!
And how long ago was that?
And that would have been 2013. He certainly can't drink like that now because...
So that was pre-kids for you.
It's pre-kids, pre-marriage. Mm-hmm. So we did the same drinking session at Aric last year, and he was piss poor, weak. I was like, mate, I've got 3 kids and I'm beating you. What's going on here? Anyway, but I was at the booth at 7 a.m, an hour later. I might not have been in a very good condition, but I was there and I was selling software. So
and you were just freaking hustling, rocking and rolling.
Hustling, yep.
So the moral of the story, to bring it back, resilience.
Resilience.
That's resilience.
Graceful resilience. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So again, we don't want to advocate for alcoholic behavior on the podcast, but if you do decide to partake, just make sure you back it up in the morning.
Absolutely. Got to back it up.
Beautiful. I love it. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to do some would you rathers for the property management industry. All right, we are back. How you feeling?
Good.
Really?
Yeah.
Feeling great.
Drinking gin, chatting to my friends.
Yeah. Is gin the right drink, or is your preferred wine? I mean, you do live on a vineyard.
I do. I mean, I'm not sure if you know. I live on a vineyard.
Vineyard. That's
vineyard.
So
vineyard. No, gin is always the right choice. Mm-hmm. I really only drink wine at events. I wouldn't sit and drink wine here or at home. I'd have a gin.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's great for the world to know.
So I had a question on here. So the next segment for everybody listening is the property management would you rathers. This is what we do with all of our guests, just to get some quick questions, have a couple of laughs, see what it looks like. I did have one question on here about white or red wine, but you've already told the crowd on that.
Yeah,
so I'm going
to text
that. Probably should have known that about you.
Yeah.
I consider myself an entertainer, but
yeah,
probably need to work on it, don't I?
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Well, what do you think? Should we run through it?
Let's do it.
Alrighty. So what was funny about this, we did this with Boothie. I removed a lot of the property management stuff because he wouldn't have a clue because I've never been a PM, he's never been a PM. So actually what's funny about this for the listeners know now, we've talked about Hermione. Hermione actually made us this list for us and I just pick and choose. No,
it was me or just in general?
No, just for PM in general.
Okay, cool.
So to kick it off, make prospecting calls or arrears calls?
Oh, definitely prospecting calls.
Why?
Because I love talking to strangers.
Okay. Is that it? You just love talking to strangers. I love talking to strangers too.
Awesome. I love talking to strangers. It's the best. That's probably why I'm in sales, to be fair.
Just put that as a tagline, love talking to strangers.
Yeah.
Just put that everywhere, which is great.
That's my next interview question.
That's it. Do you love talking to strangers?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I will not make a joke about candy and a black band for strangers. We'll remove that from it. Please don't, because there's kids listening. Mm-hmm. Go live on your socials for 5 minutes or go door knocking for 5 hours?
Oh, go live on socials for 5 minutes, for sure. Yeah, door knocking for 5 hours feels like a waste of my time.
If it was you had to door knock 5 houses versus...
5 houses, not
if you
5
do that in different
hours.
So probably we need to adjust that question, but what would you say differently if it was 5 houses versus going live on your socials?
I'd still go live.
Still go live?
Still go live, yeah, because I can put a filter on.
Why would you put a filter on? You don't need to put a filter on.
Oh, you're so lovely because, the filter, makes me look better.
You know what's funny about talking about filters and stuff like that? Because Jason Colby, for everybody knows, works for Toppy, Jason's I think like 36, 38, whatever he is.
Yeah.
Hermione is 38, even though she looks like she's 25. Mm-hmm. Between Jason and Hermione, every single person that talks to me says, oh, I thought you were older than them. I'm fucking 30. Like, Jesus, what am I doing? Yeah. You think I look really old?
Oh, it must be your maturity.
I think that's what it is.
Did I say maturity or immaturity?
Whatever one. We're just going to move on. We're just going to keep going. We're just going to keep going.
I would say, not to toot your horn, but I will. I'm 15 years older than you, and I definitely don't feel that difference in age.
Wow. So my business partner's looking in the background. Did you hear that, Tal? Yep. There you go. See? He's like, yep, don't believe you.
Tells like it. You don't have to deal with him every day.
We'll take it.
Be responsible to cover reception at lunchtime every day or clean the staff kitchen at the end of each day.
Nah, reception. Definitely.
Reception?
Yeah, because I don't get to talk to people.
See, it's all about talking to people.
Talk to strangers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Run an open home with 50 tenants or complete 50 individual private inspections.
Definitely be open home with 50 tenants because if you're using Inspect Real Estate, It's actually a very easy process.
There you go. Subtle plug, everybody, if you didn't hear that. Love it. Oh, this is always a good one. Approve a tenant who was a lawyer or who was another property manager.
Oh, that's a really good would you rather.
Mm.
Oh, I would probably still go a property manager because lawyers think they know the residential tenancies, and I've rented to lawyers. Lawyers typically think they know the Residential Tenancies Act because they know law, but they really have absolutely no idea.
Yep.
Yeah, so I would still pick a property manager.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this one because I hear this so differently across our customers. Have a landlord ask for 4 quotes or have a landlord that wants to do their own repairs. That's a tough one.
Oh, that is a tough
I can feel people like cringing listening to the podcast right now for this one.
So I would, that's really tough. Because I worked in an area, which I won't say where, but the style of customer we had was a very DIY customer. That's just the nature of where we were. And, oh my God, it causes so many problems having a landlord do it. But I say that, right? My husband and I do our own maintenance on our investment properties. So we are our own anyway. I would probably say the quotes because at least then it's a little bit more work for me, but at least then I'm giving good information to the owner to make a choice as opposed to when they do it themselves and then they go out of regulations or someone electrocutes themselves because, someone's decided they can replace a fuse when they really can't.
When just standards on compliance and regulation,
all of that.
You're just
I would probably, as cumbersome as it would be, say the 4 quotes.
Fair enough. Here's a good one. We have to do this one. Walk into a routine inspection, and if there's any kids listening, please mute it or put earmuffs on them. Where tenants are having sex, or where the tenants have left sex toys all over the apartment.
The sex toys, definitely, because I have actually walked in on 2 people having sex.
Ooh, there's one. There it is.
At an open for inspection on Docker Street in Elwood. I still remember the exact address because I'm knocking on the door, and no answer. I've got 15 people lined up. This is before Inspect Real Estate. 15 people lined up behind me, knocking on the door. I don't know how they did. Well, I may have done it. Clearly, they were very occupied on what they were doing.
Clearly.
So walked into them having sex in the back bedroom. With 15 people behind me. So, yeah.
So the follow-up question to that, do you think because they wanted to do that or they just forgot?
Oh, because they're voyeuristic?
Yeah.
No, I think they just forgot. So with Inspect Real Estate, you get reminders sent before inspections now. Maybe that would have helped, maybe it wouldn't have, but certainly I still remember it. I remember the weather. Like, you don't forget situations like that. So I'd pick the sex toys any day.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Last question, and again, this is one I want to ask everybody, like on the socials, we want people to answer this question. Would you rather have your in-laws or your ex as a tenant?
Oh, shit. Well, my in-laws are awesome. So is my ex, actually. So
such a politician.
Probably my ex.
Boo.
You know why? I'd probably say my ex because then it'd be an excuse for me to find out what's going on.
There she is. That's a Courtney we all know and love.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. That's good questions.
It was, wasn't it?
Hermione.
Yeah. Thanks, Hermione. Shout out to you for coming up with those questions for us. We appreciate it.
No, they were good. The sex one was good. I'll be thinking about that all night.
Oh. Well, before we wrap up, I would like to give you an opportunity just to give us a quick overview. What's Reap doing? Talk about what's going on.
Oh,
tell the crowd.
Yeah, you're picking one of my favourite topics. I think, it's. I mentioned before that I hopped on, 100 flights last year. I think we're in a
It was 98, actually.
What's
Mine
that?
was over 100 years
yeah,
ago, 98.
Just
to make that really clear.
To make it clear. But I think we're on a real journey at the moment in the property technology industry and we're seeing it. There's, software journeys and we're seeing a lot of companies being acquired and so forth. And it's all really great for the industry. One of those challenges that we face, though, is that there's a real brand allegiance to, like, you know, my background is Inspect Real Estate. There's a real love and affinity to the Inspect Real Estate brand. And since being acquired to Reap It, I've really had to, and my whole sales team and the whole company really bring people on that same journey with Reap It as well. And what many of your listeners may not be aware of is that Reap It product suite also involves Agent Box, which had a very similar sort of love in the industry that Inspect Real Estate has, as well as Console. And Console, so I came into the Console space 6 or 7 months ago, really from not ever seeing Console Cloud and its capabilities, and having sold competitive products to Console Cloud and Console Gateway back in the day, which many of our listeners would be aware of. And I'm so impressed with what the product team behind it, the product philosophy, the future of where the product is going, but not just cloud. If we think of a real estate business as a whole, what Reap It is our North Star, our guiding principles are really to give a real estate business that whole experience. We're doing that through a number of different avenues, Reap It Connect, really seamless. There's a term we use in our industry called integrations. I prefer workflows. I think that we are becoming a workflow industry, and that's really what we're building with the 3 platforms that we've purchased in the Reap It space. They're really strategic purchases that we want to then build the workflows for our businesses to make smarter business decisions that are data-driven, not sentiment-driven. And that's not just in property management or just in sales, but it's that whole of business. And that's really that guiding principle of where we're going. We love telling people our story. So we don't see ourselves as salespeople. We see our people as bringing people on the journey. We see ourselves as bringing people on the journey, partnering together, helping you see your business where it's going to be in 2, 3, 4 years, 10 years time, and how can we partner with you to get you there. But Reap It's a name you're going to hear a lot of. We're doing some really cool stuff, and for anybody listening out there, I'd love to spend time with you, understanding your businesses, and see how we can help.
I love it. And for anybody who doesn't know, Toppy and Console have recently just came out of the beta launch. We are now in soft launch. Depending on when we release this podcast, we're rocking and rolling. So
yeah, I'm so excited.
So it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on the podcast. Hopefully this was fun for you.
So much fun.
Wasn't painful. I know my voice can sometimes be painful for people, but hey.
Not my first rodeo.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Might be your first American rodeo, but
I
don't know. I promise we're done. That is it. Thank you guys again. Courtney Hill, thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. You were an awesome guest.
Thanks for having me.